Hello, welcome, and thank you for watching this month's Tarot Talk. I'm intuitive reader Bryan Stafford from staffordtarot.com and the resident reader at soulintention1111.ca. And tonight, our Tarot Talk topic is going to be about the difference between tarot cards and Lenormand cards. How these are read differently and the different types of readers gives a good example of the different type of readers that you can come across in this era, in this field. And but first, to give some time for some viewers to join me on this broadcast, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's new with Stafford Tarot and also about some of the upcoming events to look forward to, and then we'll get into that Tarot Talk topic. And if then, after we get into that discussion, I'll be offering up to 6 free short readings to anyone who shows interest in the chat during the broadcast. So I'll be watching for those messages as I go through, and I'll be writing down the names. So if you see me writing something down during the broadcast, I've just noticed a name and I want to track that. I will be going in the order that I notice it. There has been in the past some delays in me seeing the messages compared to when they get entered in. And so if that happens, just please bear with me. Feel free to enter in again that you were interested and that you were on the list, just to make sure that I've caught it. And if for whatever reason I miss you, please contact me, or I will be reviewing the broadcast afterwards and contacting anyone that I've noticed that I've missed. So just keep that in mind. And then I'll be offering you a makeup session for a remote reading. But tonight I'll be offering distant remote readings. Now, if you're just watching this from my website or from online and you're interested just to see the sample readings, feel free to skip ahead about 20-30 minutes, as I will be offering those free readings, miniature short readings, during the broadcast later on in about 20-30 minutes. But first, what's new with Stafford Tarot? So I'm extremely excited to be involved with Soul Intention as my new resident location. This has been an amazing experience. We're building quite an amazing community together. So many service workers and or service providers and featured local artisans in the store, as well as our own products and crystals, and as well as readers. We're really creating a community of holistic healing, almost like a holistic healing hub in Guelph, Ontario. Feel free to come to the store. Check us out at 497 Woolwich Street in Guelph, Ontario. And you can come down, say hi to me, check out the store, sign up for a service, or perhaps you'd like to be interested in one of the workshops coming up. So much to do, so much to be interested in. It really has become an energetic escape for some. And so, you know, we offer tea and a place to just sit down and relieve load off your shoulders and put your feet up and just relax. And enjoy the spiritual journey that everyone is on. We offer all sorts of enlightenment and educational activities. So check out the website, www.soulintention1111.ca. Also, what's new, you know, the website is constantly updating. We have that new website plus www.staffordtarot.com. And of course, staffordtarot.com is the sponsor to askagraywitch.com. And the Ask a Grey Witch website is about supporting people through setting up a magical practice for themselves. And it was set up as a blog where people can submit questions and I answer back in a blog style format. That just helps us share opinions, and uses an example of one practicing practitioner to give an example of just what anyone can achieve through your own comfort levels and what suits for you yourself to set up a meaningful practice for yourself. I'm really excited about that because all 3 of these websites have now merged together, and so you can always get access to one through the other, and everything has been conjointed into one place at Soul Intention, and I'm super excited about this. It's been bringing great opportunity, and the store has been just fabulous and doing really well. So come check us out, show your support, and see if there's anything that interests you while you're visiting. Now, I have several upcoming events to look forward to, but the one that I want to focus on is the Witches Conference and Gathering in Ancaster, Ontario on May 2nd and May 3rd, 2025. This is going to be an amazing event that's happening on the Ancaster Fairgrounds. That's 630 Trinity Road in Ancaster, or sometimes referred to as Hamilton. Just outside of Hamilton, and it's going to be an amazing event with readers and a market and lectures and workshops, all sorts of practitioners coming together to share their insights and perspectives. Join me as I facilitate Witchcraft 101. It'll be an introduction to witchcraft where I'll be helping dispel some of the commonly spreading myths about witches and magical practitioners, and giving an introduction to what it means to practice witchcraft and how to get started on that journey. So if that interests you, check out the Witches Gathering Conference. You can check out the website through lunaeventscanada.ca, and it's connected to the conference, and then from there you can register for the workshops that you're interested in, or feel free to come down to the event. As I said, there's going to be lots of amazing vendors at the market, including me. I'll be offering readings in the psychic section, and as well as offering that workshop. So check it out, lots of options there. And there will be several witches markets and mystic markets that I'll be getting involved in. If you're interested in those events, those dates, times, locations, please visit my website, staffordtarot.com, where it's all listed there in the upcoming events section. And you can always plan your trip or decide if I'm in your area. There's many different places that I'm going to be, especially leading up to the summer. And so in Fergus and Orangeville and towards London area, as well as Hamilton, as I mentioned, and other places as well. So check it out. And as well, you can always come see me in Guelph, Ontario at Soul Intention. I'm just thinking about other things that are coming up. It's been really exciting. I do have a new moon oracle pull that's being released this week. Later on this week, so check that out if that interests you on the website staffordtarot.com, and also available at soulintention1111.ca. I offer free oracle moon pulls for anyone who it may help. It's just a general public reading based on the influences of the season and the moon phases in the moment, and in hopes that it's helpful. So much positive feedback has been received saying how insightful or helpful people find those readings. And so check it out on either of those websites, as well as that will come out for the new moon, as well as the full moon in 2 weeks prior. And I also have my draw happening next week on Monday. It's a 1 in 5 chance to win a free remote reading over Zoom. If that interests you, just let me know that you're interested to get involved in the draw. Otherwise, you can get involved by simply liking, commenting, or sharing any social media post that mentions the draw, and I automatically include you in that draw. As I mentioned, it's a 1 in 5 chance to win. So if I receive, say, 20 people interested in the draw, I'm choosing at least 4 winners. Above 20, I'll choose 5, and I continue that ratio to try and keep it as close to 1 in 5 as possible. So there's a good chance that you'll receive a reading, and I don't mind if you don't receive the reading. Better luck next time. You can get involved again in the following draw. They do happen monthly, and those dates are released on my website, staffordtarot.com. Now, if there are any questions at all, please feel free to add them in the chat, as well as if you're interested to receive a free short tarot distant remote reading during this broadcast, just write interested in the chat or let me know that you'd like to receive a reading, and I will add you to the list so that later on when we get to those readings, I will get started with you and we will move from there. And I'll continually watch for anyone else who may be interested in those readings to receive a reading tonight for yourself. Now, what those readings look like, I'll just quickly mention before we get into our Tarot Talk discussion. I always like to pull a one-card impression pull from my first deck, which lets me know where the person is sitting energetically in the moment. And then I move to my second deck, where I focus on a topic or question of your choosing, or it can be left general, and it's based on a 3-card pull. How those cards speak to each other is generally where I get those messages. And then I can extend further into another deck, depending on where you'd like to take the reading, or if I can make a suggestion on what might be helpful based on the messages that have come out. And that takes about 15 minutes for each reading, which is why I cap a number of readings to up to 6 free readings. That usually extends the broadcast to a 2-hour length. And I think that that's reasonable. I think it gets a bit excessive beyond that. And also, you should know that if you get later in the list, you have a longer wait. And so I just minimize that wait time by limiting the number of readings. So if that interests you, let me know. Interested in the chat. Thank you, Dean Stacy. I will definitely write you on the list. You are first to receive a reading from me when I get to that point. And I have 5 more spaces. And I should also mention as well that if I fill up my spaces, which sometimes happens, and you don't get into the list and you really were hoping for a reading, still reach out to me, because I will add you to the draw that happens next week for that 1 in 5 chance to receive a remote reading. Now, the difference between a distant remote reading and a remote reading is this on this broadcast is considered a distant reading because I don't have one-on-one interaction with you. I'm simply reading texts that are being sent to me in a chat and following along with that. So there's a difference between that and a remote reading, which is more one-on-one. So right during the reading, as the cards are coming out, you're witnessing it as well, and you get the chance of asking questions, more one-on-one interaction. And the reason why I differentiate that is because on my website, I also offer reading subscriptions where people can order a reading from me, giving me the information or the background or the topic or subject of the reading, and then I do a reading on those details and send it back in a recorded video, so it's delivered through a cloud recording. And that can be helpful for some people. They have found where they're busy, or they can read and analyze the reading in their own time, and it also gives them a recording that they can go back to get the messages. But also, people have started to utilize that as gifts. I one time delivered a reading to a newlywed couple as a wedding present from their dear friend. So you know, there's a lot, people get creative, and I really appreciate that and love to help out. So feel free to check out all those options on my website, staffordtarot.com. Now, tonight's Tarot Talk topic is going to be about the difference between tarot cards and Lenormand cards. Now, you may have explored different types of readers, or went to maybe a psychic fair or maybe a market or festival of mystics, and you realize there are different types of readers. Not only can someone read the same type of cards different ways, but there are different types of cards. And that's what I'd like to highlight tonight, is just the different type of cards that can be used to do tarot readings. Now, the more commonly used tarot structure is the tarot deck that I'm referring to. So this is Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It was created by the symbolisms of the occult backgrounds of Rider and Wyatt is how the cards formed, and they used the artistry of Smith. So Rider-Waite-Smith is how this deck was produced. And the images come back from the 15th century, and so you can see they're very toned, very starchy. They're a bit very symbolic. You need the knowledge of the cards in order to read them. Each card, if you're familiar with the tarot deck structure, there are 4 suits and then higher arcana cards. Each suit has from 1 to 10 plus 4 court cards, so page, knights, kings and queens. Very similar to like a playing deck of cards. That's actually where the structure comes from. Playing decks of cards are based on tarot cards. And then the tarot cards have the additional or higher arcana cards, which are the cards that don't have a suit to them. And they're usually the more important themed or generalized messages, whereas the ones with the suits are more geared towards inner messages or practicalities. And there are 78 cards in a tarot deck, whereas a Lenormand deck only has about 36 cards. And the difference between the Lenormand deck is that a tarot deck can look very complicated. There's lots of occult symbolisms involved of different structures, and you have to sometimes really understand the symbolisms of that structure. I can give an example in terms of the Four of Wands, wands representing actions in tarot, and four being structure and grounding. So when you take grounding and structure, or when you take actions to find grounding or structure, it's usually about a happy lifestyle or finding grounding for yourself and contentment for yourself. And that is how you read the tarot. Whereas Lenormand is more simplified. It's more direct and predictive. And it just gives you the very simple, practical symbolisms that are involved. Very, intuitive-based cards that are read in a more predictive, direct way. Whereas tarot gets more in depth. I would suggest that this is more direct and predictive with Lenormand cards, whereas tarot cards are a bit more in-depth and psychological based. Lots more factors to consider, whereas Lenormand tends to be a bit more to the point and straightforward. Now, the Lenormand deck was actually created by Marie-Anne Lenormand, who created the deck in the 18th or 19th century, and it was more created as like a parlor game. It was originally called the Game of Hope, and that's exactly what readings do with Lenormand deck, is they show you the hope that's involved in the practicalities of your life, and that can be helpful to analyze. Now, Lenormand readings are often known as gypsy readings simply because of their origins, and whereas tarot readings are more used by it's more commonly used by tarot readers. So if you're learning tarot for yourself, you may realize, you may be more familiar with this deck compared to the Lenormand structure. It's a bit more rare, and the tarot structure of the Rider-Waite-Smith symbolisms have been repeated over and over and over into other designed decks. And one example of that is the deck that I have here, oh my gosh, it's not coming to me now. But this deck copies the Morgan Green deck, thank you. The Morgan Green deck copies the same symbolisms as tarot, but in a more colorful, softer tone. It's a bit more expressive, but just redrawn to be a bit more modern, even though it has the same symbolisms, the same suits, the same higher arcana order to them. And you can find that in different styled decks for different types of readings, or for different comfort zones in readings. Some people have trouble looking at the sort of starchy, old-fashioned cards and need something a bit more modern and softer on the eyes, and there's nothing wrong with that. It really is up to preference and the cards that speak to you. And then you can also find themed cards in tarot, where there's different themes to the cards. So I've seen, unicorn tarot, where all of the tarot messages are relating to mystical expressions rather than the suits of the tarot. So the wands, the swords, the cups, and the pentacles. It was more like horns and sparkles, and I don't remember what the other ones were, but it was just a different approach and technique, reading using the same symbolisms from a different perspective. I even have a cat tarot deck that I like to use when I give readings to children who appreciate felines and cats. It uses claws, treats, toys, and what's the other one? But it uses different symbolisms relating to cats to give the same structure of tarot. And it's really interesting, the comparisons of the messages. For example, the devil card in tarot is represented in the cat deck as the dog, or the conflict or adversary card often represented by a vacuum. Just different, funnier associations to the same messages. And you're starting to see that happen with Lenormand cards. You're starting to see a more wider range of Lenormand cards that are symbolic in gesture or have a certain theme to them. And you can even find oracle decks based both on tarot and or Lenormand. So many options out there to learn, and it's really up to you what you're looking for when you want to learn to do tarot for yourself. The standard tarot, the Rider-Waite-Smith, tends to be a bit more complicated, takes a little bit more time to learn, because you have to understand where the symbolisms are coming from that are based on the different occult practices that formed the tarot. Whereas the Lenormand card is a bit more intuitive. Once you learn what the symbolisms represent, you can kind of delve into those readings on what they mean for yourself. They tend to be a bit more direct, whereas the tarot cards, as I explained, tend to be a bit more in-depth. I do hope that that's helpful. Let me know if there's any questions, or if anyone else is interested to receive a reading, or if there's something you'd like to know about tarot or Lenormand. If you're interested to receive a Lenormand reading yourself, you could always connect with the gypsy reader that I'm aware of, Aurora Moon. She does come to Soul Intention, as well as she has her own reading service online through thewitchesofeastview.com or .ca, sorry, and there's also the broadcasting and YouTube channel and a whole community that they have set up around their practice, and they offer Gypsy and Lenormand readings to those who may be interested. So check that out. I personally don't offer Lenormand. I became extremely comfortable doing tarot. I started reading tarot a long time ago when I was 12 years old. Someone actually gave me this deck and said, "Oh, here, you try. I can't figure this out." And I spent a good portion of 3 years learning the symbolisms and trying to memorize the definitions of a book. And when I was about 15, I realized that with that knowledge, if I just followed my intuitive sense during readings, that readings were much more accurate and much more prominent in the messages I was giving. And my readings just took off from there. And over time, I've collected a series of different types of tarot decks, depending on the topic or question that may be asked or the feeling of the reading. And then I have many different oracle decks that then confirm and affirm the different messages from the tarot readings. So it's been really interesting to get to know my friend who has a very different reading style, and they actually let me borrow this deck so that I could show it as example on this broadcast. So thank you so much, Aurora Moon, for the assistance and the help and support, and allowing me to just explain the differences between the different decks. So any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, let's move to those readings. I do see, I can't really tell how many people are on the call or how many people are watching. So just reach out if you're on the call and interested in receiving a short tarot reading tonight. I'm first going to start with Dean Stacy. Dean Stacy, if you're on the call, and I'm just going to take a quick moment to close the door that just opened, and I'm not sure how, and I'll be right back. It'll cause for more quiet for us. Okay, sorry about that. Get my spot here. Okay, so Dean, if you're still on the call, just let me know, and let me know if you have a topic or question you'd like me to focus on, or it can be left general. Quite often when readings are left general, as I was mentioning, I think I mentioned before, the messages that you need to hear are what show up, but it's up to you if you want to try and refine what you're looking for from the reading itself. So if you have a topic or question you'd like to ask, I can focus on that. Otherwise, if you leave it general, just say general, or let me know that you'd like to leave it general, and I'll just go by the messages of the cards itself. But I'm going to start with this one card impression pull. Now this is for Dean Stacy. One card impression pull that's just going to let me know where you're sitting energetically in the moment. And Dean, the card that I get for you is the Star card. This is how the card looks. And the Star card is often for somebody who has a talent or gift or something special about them, and they can shine this light. And often when someone gets the Star card and they can shine that light is there, and they're aware of this talent or skill that I'm talking about. When the card comes out reversed like this, it often represents that light is there, but the person that I'm reading for doesn't necessarily understand or know that the light is there. So you need to discover this skill or talent that's within you. And what this represents for you, Dean, is that you understand what this is. You know and can tap into this skill or talent or ability that you have. And so just keep that in mind, that you're shining this light. This can often be like an awareness or a discovery. If you were like this and you were able to flip the card around and realize that you had this bright light or gift inside you, that's often how this card comes across. So I'm going to keep that on the table, and I'm going to focus on your question. Now, I do see there that general is good, so absolutely, I will focus on a general reading for you. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Rhonda. Thanks for joining. Hi, Bill. Feel free to let me know if you're interested in a free tarot reading tonight on the call. I do hope I'm coming through better than last time. Last month, there were some technical difficulties. It must have been an internet issue, but the call was not very clear, and so I do hope I'm coming across clear and I can be heard well. Now this is for Dean. I'm just focusing on a general reading for you. Now Dean, 3 cards have come out. One's a higher arcana and 2 suits. One of those suits is a court card. I'm going to work my way towards that higher arcana card. As I mentioned earlier, the higher arcana cards are like the theme or the more important message. I'm just going to work through these practical messages towards that more important message. I'm just writing down a name that I see there. Thank you so much for that. And anyone else who might be interested in receiving a reading tonight, just let me know and I'll catch that. Now, Dean, for you, I'm going to start with the Page of Pentacles. Pages are often about getting into a new direction, stepping into a new path, or changing your outlook or perspective and where you're going. And pentacles are often about what we need for ourselves. Usually that involves either health or finances. In this case, the coin is really standing out for me in the card, but also the barrette. And when that stands out for me in the card, it's often about money and this mindset. So keeping it on your mind, you're thinking about this, and it's about the direction that you go in, the path that you get on. Now, the next card is the 6 of Cups reversed. And what this often represents is not connecting with something from your past. This could be a new direction or a new way of looking at things. And it may be very different. Excuse me. From your memories or your past. When the card's like this, it's usually about connecting with memories or childhood memories from your past. Notice how the people in the card are proportionally different in size. The child looks bigger than the person who could be the adult. And that's often about childhood. But when it's reversed, it means doing something very different from your past. I have a feeling that these 2 cards are connected in terms of this, whatever you're doing that's getting you in this other direction could be where the difference is. So you may be deciding to move away from some connection or history of some kind. Now, the Justice card reversed looks like this, and this is the higher arcana card. It's the more important message in this reading, and it's about discovering for yourself what's fair, what's right, what's just. And I think for you, Dean, it's about deciding this path that you go on and which one is best for you yourself. What's really standing out for me in the Justice card is the little emblem over the heart, almost like a brooch that's holding the cape together. And that's often about using your heart, following that what you need for yourself from a heart perspective, and it comes from security. Because of the cape, it's usually about protecting ourselves, showing ourselves support and warmth, and I feel like that's more what this is about, is for what you need for yourself. So you're going to choose a path that's more fair for you in terms of that's different from where you've been. Now, when I relate this reading back to where you are now with the star card and knowing your talent and your skill and what is special about you, that could be what's considered here. Maybe the injustice comes from you holding yourself back, and now you have this realization that you can move forward. I'm wondering how I can extend on this reading further. Given that it's the star card, I'm wondering if it would be helpful to look at this from my heart chakra standpoint. This is my heart chakra deck. It gives great insight in terms of what someone needs for themselves, like from a heart chakra point of view. And so if I apply that to what's happening here, it may give good advice moving forward. So I'm just focusing on the energies of the reading and charging the deck with that intention. And I'm just asking this deck to give that direction on what you need for yourself, Dean. Very interesting. Two higher arcana cards and they're reversed, and I feel like they're speaking together. And then there's this emotion card of practicality, and I'm going to talk about that one first. The advice moving forward is to find joy and stability in what you're doing. Do what you love and what you feel brings you the most joy and stability for yourself. 4 in numerology is often about grounding and structure, and the color around the card border in this tarot structure tells me that this is about emotion. And when we find grounding and emotion, it can often be about making those decisions. In tarot structure, this would be a 4 of cups. And what that is often about is asking, like, what if, you know, what you have emotionally, and then you're deciding, what if I made that choice differently? Or what if I did this differently? Or what if I had this? Or, you know, you're asking what if. And this is about just being stable and secure with what it is and making it what it is that's going to bring the joy and stability for yourself. Now, the 2 higher arcana cards are the Blossom card and the Shine card, and they're both reversed. And I find this really interesting because in your energy now you have the Star card, and in your advice moving forward you have the Shine card reversed. Now, the Shine card is equivalent to the Star card in a tarot structure. So I find that interesting. It seems to me like the advice moving forward is to, even though you realize this light that you have, you don't want to shine it too bright. You don't want to over exert yourself. You don't want to burn out. And so it's suggesting to take your time on this, to really ponder what is needed for yourself, and how you could take the best approach. And the Blossom card is also reversed. And when these 2 cards are side by side, it's often about, when they're reversed, not going full throttle, making sure that you're going at a pace that you need where you're not going to burn yourself out. The Blossom card and the Shine card look like this normally. And they really represent, empowerment. When you think about discovering this inner light that you can shine and then blossoming in your own right, it's really about self-discovery, self-empowerment. And when it's reversed, it's suggesting you want to be careful how you approach this. If you shine your light too bright and you're too active or too energetically sending it out there, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to tire. You're going to be exhausted by the time you've done all the work. So just make sure that you do take time to yourself, that you do this at perhaps a steady pace, but a rational pace, that you need to maybe take your own pace, and that's okay too. But be careful that you don't overdo it for yourself. Make sure that you're enjoying this too, though. The joy and stability card is part of this, and so I think you want to be able to do this where you enjoy it. What this might say with this combination of cards, Dean, is that if this becomes an expectation, that might hinder on the joy of what you're doing. So just make sure that you're going at your own pace, that you're doing it in the way that you love to do it. I hope that that makes sense. Any questions about this reading, Dean? Just let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I do hope that this was helpful. When I look at this reading as a whole, you have cups and pentacles, no swords, and no wands. And I think it's just as important to look at what doesn't show up as what does, because what does show up are the messages you needed to hear. So what this tells me, Dean, is that you didn't need messages in terms of the actions that you're taking and the thoughts that you're going through, because wands represent actions in tarot and swords represent heavy thoughts and intellectual processes in tarot. And because we don't see any on the table, that means that the messages you needed to hear were about what you need for yourself and the emotions of what you're going through. That tells me that you have the right mindset, that you're probably taking the right action. What you want to focus on is what's happening internally and what you need for yourself. There's definitely potential showing up in this reading, Dean. And what I also notice is that the 4 higher arcanas that appear on the table, 3 of them being in the reading itself, and that's often about finding structure and how you communicate with yourself, finding that grounding and stability for your own. Oh, thank you for that feedback, Dean, that you know exactly what the cards are talking about. I do hope that this is helpful. If this sounds like repetitive messages or you understand what the cards are saying and they're not giving you anything new, take that as confirmation or perhaps affirmation that it sounds like you may be on the right path or on taking the right steps or on the right track here. I do hope that that's helpful. I'm going to clear and cleanse the cards and move on to the next reading now. Rachel, Rebecca, Foxhole, if you're on the call, let me know, and if you have a topic or question you'd like me to focus on, feel free to include that, or I can just leave it general, as I've done here. I'll just cleanse and clear all the decks, and then I'll move to Rachel. And after Rachel will be Rhonda or Bill, and anyone else who'd like a reading, just let me know in the chat. Now, Rhonda, Bill, Martins, you'll have to clarify which is there. Is it Rhonda or is it Bill or is it both? Because I could do a reading for each of you. Let me know. A general reading. Thank you so much, Rachel. I will definitely do that. Okay, so I'm going to start with that 1-card impression pull for Rachel, just letting me know where you're sitting energetically in the moment, and then I'll move to this deck where I'll focus on that general reading. I'll pull 3 cards and we'll look at how those cards speak to each other to get those messages. Now, for you, Rachel, I got the 4 of Wands. It did not come out reversed. And this card often represents finding grounding and structure in a happy home or happy lifestyle. What's really standing out for me in the background is the castle or house type structure and the people that seem to be celebrating. And so I feel like for you, this is about happy lifestyle, happy household. And when we find structure based on happy life or happy household, it's often about the actions that you take in order to achieve that. Let me know if that makes sense for you, Rachel. And I'm going to move to a 3-card pull. Oh, hi, Rhonda. Thanks for specifying. Lovely to have you join us. Thank you. And so for Rachel, I'm just focusing on your energies and charging the cards with that intention. and we're looking for a general reading. Now, really interesting cards have come out for you, Rachel. One Higher Arcana and two Suits. The Suits are Wands and Pentacles. That's often about needs and actions. And as I've said, the Higher Arcana is usually the general theme of the reading. I'm going to work my way towards that. Now, thank you for your comment, Dean, that you've been getting the same sort of messages other ways as well. You're very welcome. You know, I see that you thanks there. You're very welcome. And, you know, often in tarot, when messages seem to be repeating themselves, there's two things you have to consider. One is, are you listening? Because the messages may be being repeated for a reason, or it could be like hammering home the idea or the thought or the message. So just keep that in mind. Now, for you, Rachel, I'm going to start with the Page of Pentacles reversed. We've seen this card already tonight, and as I mentioned, pages are often about getting into a direction of some kind, and this card is about what you need for yourself. And when it's this way, you're getting into that direction and what you need for yourself. When it's this way, it's often about a disruption or something that needs to be resolved first. So you could be feeling held back from getting into this path of what you need for yourself. And what's standing out for me in the card is the coin itself. So this is about money and finances being held back in terms of getting into that direction of prosperity. But don't fret. It doesn't mean that you're always going to be in this situation, because when you resolve the challenge or you get the information you need or whatever's holding you back, that's when the card flips around and you then get into that path, follow that direction towards prosperity. But in the meantime, it looks like this. Something has to be resolved first. Now, there's also this indecision in terms of the actions that you move forward with. 3 in numerology is often about communication, and wands represent actions in tarot. So when we have communicating our actions, it's usually about making a definitive choice. What's the right choice for me? And you can see in the card, the person is making a choice between 3 wands. He's selected one. He has one in front of him as another option, like just in case, and then he's put one behind him like that's not even an option. He's communicated with himself the order of priority his actions need to take. And when it's reversed, it means that there's an issue in that, or a complication, or you have to resolve that challenge. And that's where I see these two cards speaking together. There's some sort of challenge that needs to be resolved in order to decide on the action you take and get into that new path. Now that brings us to the Hanged Man. Now don't fret, Rachel, this is not actually a negative message. If this card came out reversed, I would be concerned, because when the Hanged Man comes out reversed, it's often about actually feeling stuck, not able to proceed, really being held back in some way. And just know that when it's not reversed and it looks like this, it's about pretty much waiting to be rescued. You're not really stuck, even though you feel stuck. There are options around you. There are opportunities available. You just have to find them. You just have to grasp those opportunities and take advantage, maybe. But the point is feeling stuck when you're not really stuck. And where that message comes across is, if you look at the Hangman carefully, he's not fretting, he's not scared. He actually almost looks like he's trying to make himself as comfortable as possible in the meantime until he's untied or cut down. And that's what this card represents when it's this way. It's feeling stuck, but there are opportunities available to you. You just have to find them or utilize them. You have to put in the work. Now, the one thing that stands out for me are the two cards reversed speaking together. It could be this indecision and not being able to get into this direction that's making you feel stuck. Let me know if that makes sense, Rachel. When I bring this back to where you're sitting energetically in the moment, this structural grounding, happy lifestyle or happy home type of feeling, you want to be careful that this doesn't get disrupted, where this turns upside down and you have to resolve the challenge in order to bring it back. At the moment, it's showing like this. So there's potential here that this is really just about what you need for yourself and the direction you need to go in. I'd like to extend on this reading further. I'm wondering if my Zen deck would be helpful for this. Now, this is my Zen deck. It gives great insight in terms of the energetic interaction that's involved. And if I focus on that for this reading, it may give some helpful insight about the dynamics that are happening here. Now, this deck does give some harsh messages, but I do believe that it's sometimes the harsh messages that need to be heard. And so I'm just going to focus on that. Oh, hi, Rachel. I just see your message there. You just left your partner. I'm sorry to hear that. If you can see where that is relating to these messages, just know that with the Hangman being this way, it's often about being let go of a situation. As that you're not really stuck, even though you feel stuck, and so that may suggest an opening or an awakening of some kind, a realization, perhaps. So we're looking at the energetic interaction that's involved in the message you need to hear for yourself, given what's happening here. So all elementals are on the cards. So these are not higher arcana. One of them is considered a court card and 2 suits. I'm just going to go in the order that they came out. They're just calling to me in that way. The 3 of air. Now, the air element of this deck is often about heavy thoughts and intellectual processes, similar to the swords in a regular tarot structure. And 3 is about communication in numerology. So communicating these heavy thoughts and what's heavy on your mind. And it shows an image of releasing. The ice is melting as it works through this emotional de-isolation. And what this often represents is if you felt blocked and you can now release that emotion, it can be an emotional process, but a needed one. It's about letting go of the things that we hold inside. And it's suggesting for you that that's part of the journey that you're on, that you're releasing and letting go of this blockage that you've been holding on to. This is really heavy on your mind. This is about taking action in terms of what's heavy on your mind. And you can see here, this person is completely overwhelmed by the amount that they have to think, and it's just overworking themselves, draining themselves. This could be a form of depletion or feeling burnt out. I'd watch for that, since this is in your energy. With these 2 cards being side by side, you may be exhausted by the upset or the releasing and letting go, the emotional journey that you must be on, and the intellectual processes. This is giving you heavy things to think about. Now, where I see this turning around for you, Rachel, is the success card. This is the 6 of fire in this tarot structure. Fire is similar to wands in the regular tarot, and what this represents, 6 is about interacting with the others around us and taking action in terms of that interaction, and that leads to success. And so, maybe finding support from people around you, connecting with friends or others, but there's definitely this feeling of success. I have a feeling that the others around you may be agreeing with your decision if you left your partner, that they may be looking at this as a form of empowerment for yourself. And so maybe celebrate the successes that you've taken for yourself in this journey, even though it's a hard one and probably seems like a difficult decision to make given the other cards that are on the table. When I look at this reading as a whole, you have pentacles, the equivalent of wands, with wands, and swords. And these are the messages you needed to hear, but no cups. And as I already mentioned, it's sometimes really important to look at what doesn't show up at the table as what does, because you didn't need messages about the emotions that you're going through, given that you felt this reading was about you leaving your partner. I think what this really says to me Rachel, is that you understand your emotions well, that you understand the process of what you're going through emotionally, or you'd have cups all over the table. And so you don't need to be guided on yourself emotionally. You know how you feel, you know what you're going through. The messages you needed to hear are what's heavy on your mind, these actions that you have to determine, and what you need for yourself. When I bring this right to where you are now, there's this happy home, happy lifestyle, taking the actions to create a happy home. I don't know the reason that you left your partner, but it seems to me like they may have been disruptive to how you see this happy lifestyle, this happy home. And now that you've left, there's potential here. Let me know if this makes sense or if you resonate with these messages, Rachel. I do hope that they're helpful. It sounds to me like this is more of a message of self-discovery and empowerment for yourself, because one of the energetic interactions that are happening is this sort of celebration of being on your high horse, of celebrating yourself as like a parade. It's coming across like a parade. And so I think you need to celebrate for yourself the efforts and achievements that you've made on your journey. Thank you for that message there. Just yes, confirming and affirming perhaps that I'm on the right track here. I'm going to cleanse the cards and move on to the next reading, if that's okay, if you don't have any questions. So Rhonda, if you're still on the call, let me know if you have a topic or question you'd like me to focus on, or if you'd like me to leave it general. I'm just watching there. I do hope that this is helpful, Rachel. If this, as I said in the last reading, if some of this sounds like affirming for you or repetitive, just take that as confirmation that you're on the right track. Oh, thank you for that message. Yes, makes sense. I left as I want to be on my own and finally learn to love myself. So absolutely, I could definitely see that playing out in the cards. I'm sorry about your journey, though. It sounds like a difficult decision to make. But I think, according to your message there, you may have made the right one. So let me know, Rhonda, if you're still on the call. Rhonda Martin. And, oh, there you are. Hello, General. Perfect. So I apologize if it takes me a couple minutes to see, or 30 seconds or so, to see the message after it's been typed in. Sometimes that happens, and I'm sitting there looking at the message like, where's the message, when they've already typed it in, but it just takes longer for me to see it on my end. I learned that the hard way. For you, Rhonda, I get the Moon card, and it's reversed. Now, when the Moon card comes out reversed, it tells me that the person I'm reading for isn't connecting with their intuition, or not following it fully, or not trusting those intuitive messages, or not following your instincts perhaps. But when the card comes out like this, it's about connecting with that intuition or instincts, following through with the messages that you receive. When the card's reversed, it doesn't mean that that intuition isn't there. It just means that you may be second guessing it, or you may not be fully listening to where you're coming from, or those intuitive messages are not being fully followed or followed through with. And so when you start to believe in yourself and you trust your instincts, you follow that intuition, that's when the card flips around and you're now, empowering yourself with your intuition, following that, the instincts, and finding your way that way. But in the meantime, it does look like this. There may be some work that you need to do in connecting with your instincts. Oh, you're very welcome, Dean. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night. I just saw your message there. Hope I caught you before you left. Now, I'm just focusing on Rhonda's general reading. I'm just going to pull 3 cards from this deck, and we'll look at how those cards speak to each other to get that guidance. And then I can extend further into another deck as I have tonight. Now, 3 cards have come out. 1 card is a higher arcana. We have 2 suits, and one of the suits is a court card. I'm going to work my way towards that higher arcana card and go in the opposite order that they came out. I'm being drawn to the first court card, and so I'm going to start there. This is the Queen of Cups. Now, queens are often the decision makers of the court, and these are the types of decisions that affect people around you, and they're usually more nurturing and caring. And I'm talking about like heart-wrenching decisions. These are hard decisions to make because it's the Queen of Cups. Cups in tarot are symbolic to emotions, and when you have an emotion, when you have an emotional decision by an emotional decision maker, that can be hard to do. Just know, Rhonda, that the card came out this way, that you are able to sit in this Queen of Thrones position. If it came out reversed, I would be more concerned that you're not able to make these choices or sit in that throne. You might need to resolve the conflict first, or what's missing in order to do that. And this is suggesting that you're able to sit in that throne, that you can make these decisions. So this shows me that you're sitting in an able position to make this emotional decision. Now, you're no longer up against the flow of other people's actions, and that's what this card represents. This is the Seven of Wands. Seven in numerology is often about spiritual development and guidance, and wands are the actions that we take for ourselves. So when we take actions spiritually, it can be about knowing exactly what we need for ourselves and taking the right actions for ourselves, no matter what it comes up against. And you yourself look at it that way. You're not going to let people hold you back. You may have been like this, where your actions were up against other people's actions, and it was literally like hard to get through. You had to hold your own, defend your ideas, defend your actions. And what this is saying is no longer that you're now, you don't take that from other people. You can hold your own. You're not up against other people's actions. Now, the higher arcana card is the Chariot card. This is often the card to just get up and go. Ride the chariot, be the chariot driver. And when you think about what's involved in driving a chariot, it's hard work. In order to win the race, you have to steer the mares. You have to make sure you have healthy horses, that your wheel axles don't break. There's a lot of symbolisms involved with the Chariot card. It's about getting on the go, doing what you need to do. If this card came out reversed, it would mean racing with a sick horse, having a broken wheel, not being able to enter the race for whatever reason. So just know you have what it takes, Rhonda. You just need to get on the go and move it. What I find interesting about these three cards is I don't think there's anything stopping you except for yourself. Because in your position now, in the energy of yourself in the moment, there's this not trusting your instincts, not following your intuition, and that may lead to just if you followed your intuition, trusted your instincts, that would guide you well in terms of where you're headed here. Now, I am wondering how I can extend further on this reading. But first of all, Rhonda, does this make sense? Can you understand where this is coming from, or what this reading is associated with, what it's talking about? I feel drawn to my Witch's Wisdom deck. Now, this deck gives great insight in terms of messages that need to come to the surface. And given this, I don't want to call it a disconnect, but given this disconnect of intuition and things going quite, if you put in the work and ride the chariot, you can win the race. I'm wondering if there's messages just deep within that need to come to the surface. And so I'm going to focus on that. Let me know your thoughts. I haven't seen your messages yet, and I apologize if you've already put them in, and I'm just waiting for them to show up. I think that this might be helpful. So because I was drawn to this deck, I'm just going to proceed. Oh, thank you for that. Yes, I always don't myself. I understand where you're coming from, what you mean by that. So the three cards that have come out are interesting. They are all higher arcana cards, which suggests to me that this is a really important message that needs to be heard. Okay, Rhonda, I'm going to go through each one individually. I want you to listen to how they resonate, because they are speaking together for me. So I'll talk individually and then how they're speaking together, okay? I'm just going to go in the order that they came out because I feel drawn to all three at the same time. I don't really know where to start, so I'm just going to start there. This is the healing card. This tells me that this is a journey about healing. When you think about laying in a grass on the meadow and looking up through the plants, and seeing the circle of nature around you, it's about creating that sacred space to do the healing work. It's suggesting that you're on this journey of healing. 8 in numerology is often about finding the success, and when we find success in healing, it's often about doing what we need for ourselves, making sure that we take the time to heal. And so I see this as a healing journey for yourself. Now, healing doesn't always have to be physical. What's really standing out for me are the glitters and the patterns of the plants itself, and so that could be like emotional healing. Now, the Guardian card is reversed. Now, 18 in numerology breaks down to a 9, which is often about reaching the end goal or destination. And when it's reversed, the Guardian card often represents tapping into your inner self. You can look at this as deity work in some aspects or in some traditions or practices, where you get to know the inner parts of yourself by personifying them and relating with that. To better understand the different sections of ourselves. And this is suggesting that there could be a portion of yourself that maybe needs to be discovered or focused on. You're much more stronger than you realize. I think that you have an inner strength in you that you can rely on, and you tend not to. And so when you can tap into that inner strength, that's where the Guardian comes out, but in the meantime, it looks like this. I think what this is suggesting for you, the message that you need to hear, is that this inner guardian is within you, and someone doesn't always have to poke the bear to get you to growl to see the inner guardian. You can access this at any time, because that strength is within you. Now, the Council of All Beings is the next card I want to go to, and the card is reversed. Now, this card is really fascinating because it's often about the many different aspects of ourselves and how they communicate with each other, hence the Council of All Beings. It's really the council of ourselves, the different aspects of ourselves are the council, and you're gaining counseling from that. It's about getting to know your inner self better. And when it's reversed, it's often representing that that's what you need to do, is get to know yourself better. It may be helpful to personify the different aspects of your inner self in order to relate with, interact with, to be able to acknowledge it in the first person, the second person and the third person. In other words, being able to acknowledge that it's there, it exists, it's part of you, and that you can accept it, and the different aspects of yourself. There could be something within you that's causing some sort of conflict with yourself, even psychologically, if you have an aspect of yourself that you maybe not agree with, or maybe it's just about getting to know that part of yourself better and creating some acceptance. I do hope that this makes sense, Rhonda, and is helpful. When I look at this reading as a whole, and let me know if you have any questions, but when I look at this reading as a whole, you have 4 higher arcana showing on the table, and that's often about finding grounding and structure for ourselves. And the 2 suits that are on the table are the wands and the cups. So this is about action and emotion. I think you understand what I'm saying, and that you have the right mindset, or you'd have swords all over the table. The same thing as, you know what you need for yourself, or we'd be discussing the pentacles in this reading, and we're not. I think these are insights that could help you move forward in the direction that you're moving. I do hope that this is helpful and makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions, Rhonda, if there's anything that I can clarify. Otherwise, I will start to decharge and put away the cards. I just want to take an opportunity to thank everybody who has come and joined me on this live broadcast, and for those who have graciously asked for free readings tonight. I very much enjoy interacting with everyone during the call, and I always hope to be helpful within my readings. If you're interested more about my readings, feel free to get involved in that draw. Again, it's an online draw. It's a 1 in 5 chance to win a free remote reading from me over Zoom, and it's more interactive. You get the chance of asking questions one-on-one versus this is more like one-way communication. You can see me, I can talk to you, but I can't really hear you or interact. And so it's a bit more interpersonal that way, as well as you can always check out the other free reading opportunities that I give, including at the markets and festivals and at the store Soul Intention. I always offer free 1-card impression pulls to anyone who may be interested to delve into tarot. Perhaps you just have a insight or perspective. Maybe you're learning it for yourself, or maybe you've never received a tarot reading before. And 1-card impression pull, it can give you that sample or expectation of what to expect from readings from me. Oh, thank you for that message, Rhonda. That you're very welcome, and this was 100%. I really appreciate that confirmation that I'm on the right track. So thank you so much. I didn't see anyone else requesting any readings for this night, so I'm going to just sign off and end the broadcast. I just want to show my appreciation again for anyone who did come on, and feel free to connect with me. You can send me your questions or comments or feedback. You can either comment on this video, which will be posted on YouTube, as well as Facebook, and will be available through my website for your viewing pleasure. If you received a reading tonight, you can always go back and re-watch the broadcast recording to see how your reading went again, or get those definite messages. So thank you so much. I do hope you all enjoy yourselves and have a great day, and I will talk to you next month for the next Tarot Talk Live event in June.